Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. Travis, let me tell you, it's not often that I feel like I felt super confident in a game. And I think the whole reason we went out of our way on Wednesday to talk about playoff pitfalls was to set things back, because I mentioned Thanos and the inevitability, but when one's playing the New York Jets, that's a different situation. And I listen, I know you work very hard every week, Travis, to make sure that we have compelling podcasting, radio, video. By the way, like and subscribe to the Duval Dive YouTube channel, please. Thank you. Or make sure you subscribe to the podcast audio if you prefer that, be it Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to and consume your podcasts. But I could even tell you were struggling a bit when it came to this. Nonetheless, we have the 3 points, the keys to, or 4 points, excuse me, the keys to victory. I say 3 by accident because your open is the third time's the charm. And that doesn't immediately reveal itself in production. I wasn't sure what that meant. And then it dawned on me with a little bit of guidance. Third time's the charm. Are the Jets in that much trouble? I mean, it's not old man Rivers. I'm getting Phillip Rivers out of retirement bad, but it's bad, right?
Well, I mean, that's it. The Jets quarterback situation is the biggest conversation surrounding this game, because you're talking about the potential that the Jets are going to be down to their third quarterback starting today. I mean, starting on Sunday, with Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields both dealing with injuries. Like, neither practiced earlier this week. And you have Brady Cook, who played 3 of the quarters last week against the Miami Dolphins, threw 2 interceptions in that blowout loss to the Miami Dolphins by the Jets. Taylor has a groin injury he suffered last week, and Fields was ruled out on Friday last week before the Dolphins game with his knee injury. So, I mean, for me, when I say third time's the charm, you know what that means, Duval? Our old Nemesis is back. The backup quarterback with time to prepare, a chip on his shoulder, a list of people who didn't believe in you, and a week of preparation to get your 8-mile comeback, your one shot. All I need is one shot, one time. That guy.
I'm trying to make people Eminem up in this beast, bro. Like, what's up?
That's it. Like, we don't know much about undrafted free agent quarterback Brady Cook outside of his 3 quarters against Miami. It's like you almost like we talked to Coach Liam Coen about it on Wednesday, and like he's like, you got to go back to the college film at that point. You almost feel like it's a great situation for most NFL teams. If it wasn't the Jacksonville Jaguars, like if it wasn't the Jaguars with that layered history, you'd be like, all right, this is a great situation, because we've seen enough backup quarterbacks who just didn't look incredible the week beforehand to come in and then they play and look pretty comfortable against the Jaguars. Like, it's happened multiple years straight. So for me, it makes total sense if fans like had some concern about the unknown right now.
I mean, you're up here trying to act like Davis Mills put together a 20-point quarter comeback in the fourth quarter. Or so. Oh, damn. So, yeah, your point entirely made there, my good friend. I would even add this element of there's that Bengals backup quarterbacks. A backup quarterback, to your point, has not necessarily meant doom for the opponents of the Jags. I don't know if that Gatorade you're sipping right now is spiked, but if it were, let's just say backup quarterbacks is how this team has made you drink plenty of times for you to own 2 T-shirts bearing that phrase. Just throwing it out there.
But I also don't envy Liam Coen, not Liam Coen, defensive coordinator Anthony Campanelli this week. Like, I don't, because if you dominate this team, you're supposed to dominate this team, of freaking course. But if you don't dominate this team, then there's a whole conversation. So there's a whole like this isolated conversation to the side surrounding, hey man, this is your third opportunity second specifically, to prepare for a backup quarterback who knows they're starting, and going into the week that they're starting or likely starting, and still not necessarily know how to attack them in the best way to get that W at the end of the game. Like, we asked Coach Liam Coen about it on Wednesday, like, just from a game planning perspective, like, how do you go about facing any of the 3 Jets signal callers? Because you make your game plan on Sunday night, Monday, morning, maybe Tuesday, and you're presenting it to the guys in Wednesdays before Wednesdays practice in your classroom sessions and everything. So you're having a Wednesday practice when you don't even know who's truly going to be playing. Maybe even Thursday, you don't truly know, depending on how that's going to go. And I'm just sitting there like, dude, you got three quarterbacks who play way differently on this Jets roster. Like, you got Justin Fields, who's obviously the most explosive guy on his legs. You got Tyrod Taylor, who's probably your best game management option, which is the one that, for me personally, probably scares me the most.
Agreed.
He's the ball out on time, and that's what we struggled seeing in Jacksonville Jaguars fan base. And then you got Cook, who's just this pure question mark. And from from that part of it, I'm like, dude, that's a rough situation for him, and it shouldn't be, because it should just be, hey man, you should be able to figure out what your team does best and just hopefully be able to dominate this backup quarterback. But also, who knows, bro? This still can come out here out of nowhere and just be like truly good, and you just do the thing that works really badly against him, if that makes sense.
Well, and to your point, something that can support a backup quarterback is something that this Jets team does have pretty reliably when Breece Hall is healthy. A good run game supports a quarterback of any bit of, and listen, I know that the point here is one game revival. We'll get more into that from the Jags perspective, but I think that Breece Hall, if healthy and available, is something that can help this situation for the Jets, to say the least.
No, absolutely. They're going to want to run. They're going to want to lean on, Breece Hall. They're going to want him to kind of take that load off this quarterback. Then they're probably going to want to use the play action off of that and try to get the ball out of his hands reasonably quickly, because again, that's what the Jaguars struggle against. Right. But in that same conversation, talking about the run game for the Jets, Breece Hall hasn't had a crazy amount of success on the ground, but he has done enough to kind of keep them balanced, at least. Like, he's ninth in the league in total yards from scrimmage, just under 1,200, like 1,180 something, with about 900 yards rushing, but he averages 4.4 yards per carry. Like,
on a horrible team,
on a
we
bad
need
team.
to accent that, because usually late in the game they're throwing the bejesus out of the ball in the fourth quarter, which means Breece is only useful for a first half of football.
So he's right. So, like, in that way, he is absolutely the guy that's like circled for Sunday. Now, you just had the game against the Indianapolis Colts, and that was basically the same type of game there, except going into the game that you're going to be facing a backup quarterback.
Excellent.
So now you have the whole week to kind of prepare for that guy. You stop Breece Hall on the ground. You stop him in the area of the checkdowns in the screen game, because he has over 300 yards receiving on this, on the year also. Then you have a high probability that you're going to win this game if you can just find a way to get it done in those areas. But man, he is dominant in both that run game and the receiving game. To that original point, like, it's like, hey, he's good running the ball, and they might want to run the ball with him, but also getting him in space was something that worked really well against this Jacksonville Jaguars defense earlier in the season. Like, CMC had, what was it, 100 yards in receiving that week? So I'm not crazy, but I'm like, no. They'll find simple, basic ways to get this quarterback started, and a lot of that's going to revolve around Breece Hall. But that does not just mean giving him the ball. That could simply mean, hey, I'm going to give him opportunities in the passing game, in the short area, screen area, whatever it may be. But you mentioned it right before the podcast, and thank you for reminding me. We did talk about on Wednesday's Duval Dive how we needed to give Brenton Strange his flowers because of how he basically accents this run game. Like, the fact of the matter is, like,
don't hand me that credit real quick. Give it to the Duval Divers. They're in the comments throughout that show Wednesday, giving my guy his props. Now, granted, I started in week 1, but that's a separate conversation.
Well, no, but I mean, like, you know what? I'll get to that when we talk about our run game. Just to be clear, like, let's wrap up with the Breece Hall conversation, just because with the injury to Eric Armstead, he missed the Titans game in week 13. He only played 23% of the defensive snaps against Indianapolis. Matt Dickerson is who I wanted to kind of just give a quick just a tip of the cap. You know what I mean? Like, Matt Dickerson is an 8th-year veteran who was on Jacksonville's practice squad, who give those guys their flowers, because if anybody doesn't know my history, I'm walk-on cornerback at UCF. Like, in college terms, I am the equivalent of a practice squad guy who found a way to get a scholarship, or practice squad guy who found a way to get on the active roster, basically. Like,
I think that's a fine take. I'm the semi-pro version. I never played in high school. I ended up starting 3 games. I'm right there with you on all of that, buddy. I was at the bottom of the depth chart at one point, started 3 games. I'm 100% with it. And I'll even add this concept there. If you could beat a double team and then put a hand on Jonathan Taylor to help a gang tackle, you're a good player. Period, point blank. I'm with that.
Yeah. So if there's anyone who's ever going to support the undrafted free agents, or the underdogs, or those guys who are at the lower rungs of the roster but able to kind of find ways to make a career out of it, or to ball out of control, it's going to be this podcast. I need folks to understand that. Like, we're not just doing this because it's a Jaguars podcast. There ain't anybody else out there talking about Matt Dickerson, or talking about Antonio Johnson, or talking about all the guys that's lower down on the roster. Is because we really do support these guys, because we are these guys in some ways.
And give one other group of people credit for talking about Matt Dickerson. The Duval divers were in the comments on Wednesday, giving him his cross.
That is fair. So Anthony Campanelli, he's like using a week by week approach with this run game, trying to figure it out again, while Eric Armstead is basically only playing on passing down. So when Eric's not in the game, in those obvious run downs or second and manageables, that's kind of where Dickerson has been capitalizing lately. Now, he's not the pass rusher that Eric Armstead is. I want to be very clear. Like,
of course,
he's not that, and he's not the run stopper Devon Hamilton is, but he is a great alternative for those guys. And with him, Mason Smith, Devon Hamilton together have been doing a reasonably stout job over these past 2 weeks, limiting the run game. And again, that matters this week, because you don't expect Eric Armstead to play his full assortment of snaps. That means another Eric Dickerson, Devon Hamilton, and a little bit, Mason Smith type game to kind of keep these guys limited. So if they are limited, those are the 3 guys I'm pointing to.
To your point, the Matt Dickerson concept there is the Jags haven't, I could argue the Jags haven't had something quite like this as a rotational good kind of piece since the Falaransu Fatukasis and of that ilk. It's good to see it again.
Interesting. No, that's fair. Key number 3. All right, man. So,
well, did we hit 2? Like, we haven't really touched on the Jags.
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. No, you're not wrong. My apology. 2. Well, we got it. We skipped to 4 at the start, so you threw me off with that one. My apology.
I really did. No whole passes. You had the great pun and everything. I completely bleeped up the rotation. That's my fault.
So the second key to victory is, hey man, we got to get this run game started. Like, and I say started because folks have their differences of opinions about how the Jaguars run game was. I thought 70s, basically not 80, just under 80 yards on the ground last week between Travis Etienne and Breece Hall is probably not a great day. It was good enough to win the game, so that's all that matters. But you can objectively look back and say, it could have been a better day on the ground, and they haven't had the explosive day I've been looking for from them as of late. But that was also the area that I wanted to give Brenton Strange his flowers, right? Because again, just to make sure my Duval divers happy, like Brenton Strange is out there moving folks. Like, I need folks to know Brenton Strange is out here moving folks on the Travis Etienne touchdown run, like just taking a linebacker. Let's displace him 17 yards sideways. Why not? And then even when he makes a mistake and misses the block on the 4th and 1 attempt from Travis Etienne that gets challenged, he still finds a way to carry Travis Etienne forward, slams the man forward for the first down. Like, that is a play. That's a dog right there. And I don't love when folks are always like, hey, Brenton Strange is the reason our run game's back. He's the reason. He's a cog, and he's a very big, important cog in the machine. But I also don't want to do a disservice to those other guys on the roster when discussing this team sport. Like,
Hines-Allen, the O-line upgrades, all of it.
Period. Right. He's part of the conversation, but also he's not the only reason it works. It's also the level of competition. And if you can't see it because you're looking on mobile or whatever else, let me just break it down. The short version is the teams that struggle, to stop the run, the Jacksonville Jaguars, in nearly every game that they played, they've struggled to stop the Jaguars running the ball. The teams that are good at stopping the Jaguars running the ball, generally stop the Jaguars from running the ball. And there's two outliers in this equation. The Week 13 Tennessee Titans game, the Tennessee Titans are actually not a very good team at stopping the run, but yet they held the Jaguars to 2.3 yards per rush. And the Los Angeles Rams, who are actually reasonably good at stopping the run, and the Jaguars averaged 5 yards a carry against them, but then we only ran 13 times because they had the lead in the game. Outside of that, outside of that, every other team that is good, or bad, I should say, stopping the run. However, that wherever they land in that equation, defensive yards per rush rank, that's pretty much how Jacksonville's going to perform. If it's a bad run stopping team, Jacksonville's going to have a great day. Good run stopping team, Jacksonville's probably going to struggle. That's when I say the run game needs to get going. That's what I mean. Being able to run when it's a good team that stops the run and not just against the bad ones, if that makes sense.
And what I interpret is if I'm the Jets or even the Titans, and I've watched the national media talk all this trash on Trevor Lawrence, and I hear Jeffrey Simmons trying to tell the world that after the first option, Trevor Lawrence is helpless. I'm going to sell out to try to stop the run. And then have Trevor Lawrence have the opportunity to have what people have called the best game of his career. I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but I think that element of if you sell out to stop the run, Trevor Lawrence will make you pay is what makes this Jag team the absolute threat that it's become in the AFC.
Because he might actually be able to make you pay nowadays. And that changes that math just a little bit. But the Jaguars face the Jets.
This is what happens when, in the words of Big Game James, this is what happens when you have MFers that can catch the football. Shouts to Jacoby Myers and Brandon Strange.
No, that's it. No, so to that original, so as far as yards per rush are concerned, like the Jets they faced the Jets this week. They're 19th in the league. They still got the Broncos on the schedule. They're first in the NFL in yards per rush. They got the Titans again, who, while they're 22nd in the league, we recently struggled against them. So we'll see where that lands. And we have Indianapolis left on the schedule, and they're third in yards per rush allowed. So it feels good to have the win and to take note, and to talk about this after that victory last week. But just take note that there's a few games on the schedule that gives me a little bit of pause. And with the Jaguars only averaged 3.6 yards per rush on Sunday, they survived on defense, passing the ball, and the two explosive rushes by Travis Etienne. Because I don't think folks realize that he only had a 28-yard rush and an 11-yard rush in the explosive run game on Sunday. Outside of that, the Jacksonville Jaguars running backs combined averaged 2 yards per rush on those remaining 20 rushes. So when I'm looking at it from that angle to say they didn't have a very good game outside of those two explosive rushes and those, running the ball off of those turnovers, if that makes sense.
It does.
The defense and everybody else kind of did their job, but the run game still is a question mark to me when they're playing against those more difficult teams.
And then there's
and then there's the Jets. That's the other part of the equation. The Jets, not good, not great, Bob. So this is the fun part about the Jets. Yeah, right. This is the fun part about the Jets. They're all over the place on their run defense. Like if it's cold outside, they're terrible, and that's not a joke. I don't mean it as a joke. I actually talking to one of my guys, Eve, a Jets fan. He's telling me, he's like, dude, when it's cold outside, it's like they don't want to be there. Like the Week 13 game against Atlanta and the Week 14 game against Miami were both at home in cold, balmy days, and they just felt like they didn't want to be there. Like truly, and the offense kept them in the game and made it a game.
I'm sorry. Let's put in perspective what you just said. Like they beat the team from Atlanta, the Fraud Cons, who is the Metro of the South. And then they beat the team from Miami, whose home field advantage.
No. They lost to Miami.
I'm getting there. And they lost that game because they can't handle the cold. Listen, I got nothing. Please continue.
Brother. If it's cold outside, they just feel like they're terrible. Like they won that Atlanta game, but I swear to you, nobody wanted to win that game. America lost. Anybody watching that game lost. It was not a great game to watch. And I had to, but they did not want to win it. It was just a series of miscues that were just ridiculous. But yeah, if it's a normal hot or normal day like it's going to be in Jacksonville, you will know early on whether or not they are engaged enough to be willing to play some real football. Because if you look a few weeks back against New England, yeah, they held those balls to 2.4 yards a carry. Against Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson and the great Derrick Henry, yeah, they held that dude to 2.9 yards a carry. Like they lost those games, but they on the ground did reasonably well. So I want to see Travis Etienne bounce back. I want to see Bayshaw Tootin bounce back. He only had 2 rush attempts in two offensive snaps, I'm sorry, in the game on Sunday because after he fumbled, they
He
just
has some fumble
left,
trouble. Yeah.
he fumbled and they just left him on kick return the rest of the game. And folks was like, "Yeah, because he had a concussion." I'm like, "No, they didn't. If he had a concussion, you're not putting him on kick return. That's a benching. That is a benching because he put the ball on the ground twice. He lost one of the fumbles, but he put the ball on the ground twice.
Correct.
That's what that was.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll need him to bounce back to make sure that that's not a thing that's happening, because he came into the NFL with a fumbling issue. You want to make sure that's not a consistent thing going forward, and he just needed a quick reset. So hopefully that's what that is. They'll have that 1-2 punch entering the postseason, and everything will be happy. But yeah, get the run game going because it's that important, and it's not just going because they got 74 yards on the ground. Like that's not enough for me. I mean, we need like a real run game.
You need 3 digits in yards on the ground. I hear that.
Oh man, yeah. So finally, I guess
I think
point
that
number 3
correctly. Yeah, point number 3. Take the damn free yards. Beat the bleep out of these guys.
3 yards, man. So obviously that's a big one for me, at least towards Mr. Trevor Lawrence. Sorry, Waffle House Willie. If you saw Wednesday's podcast, you know what I'm referencing. But Mr. Trevor Lawrence, we need you to take the 3 yards because this is going to be a New York Jets defense that's going to play a lot of man coverage. They're going to play a lot of match coverage. They're going to have their backs to the quarterback pretty frequently. And if you give your running backs the opportunities or your tight ends the opportunities to just get out in space and just keep your guys on the field, you'll be all right. But overall, like I think they'll need to again continue finding those guys like out of the backfield because they haven't used the running backs in the passing game as frequently this season for whatever reason. I don't know if that's just because they've been cleaning it up or whatever it is, but
I think part of it is Liam Coen being aware of his being scouted for using that a lot.
I mean, that could be the case, but no, but this is the fun part about it because I was talking to one of my guys on Monday, not a Jaguar fan, by the way. And
right?
He's in one of my fantasy leagues, right? So this is more of a fantasy conversation, and he has Trevor Lawrence as his quarterback in the league. He's like, and I quote, Trevor Lawrence must be the most amazing yet infuriating quarterback to cover. He's literally the only quarterback in the NFL that you will start in a scenario that you will bench any other quarterback. His words. And I was like, think about it for a second. And I'm like, wait a minute. Because I think what he meant was like if there was a snowy game or a heavily rainy game, like it was on Sunday, was predicted to be, you bench almost every other NFL quarterback, not Trevor Lawrence. When you're facing one of the best passing defenses in the league, like when it's on red, you bench other quarterbacks, not Trevor Lawrence. Like those situations, and I thought it was like real interesting because he ain't wrong. Because like Trevor Lawrence up until the last 2 weeks felt like the guy who just loves playing Madden on all Madden mode. Like when playing on rookie mode is just too easy, and we got to make it difficult to make it a little exciting. So that's where I was like, dang, that's crazy. But he's right.
I feel every bit of that, even myself being outside of the Duuuval devout. That's a fine take there. I had something else to say, but that take threw me off. That's really good.
No. Well, we talked about it on Wednesday's Duval Dive. Like, it's not incorrect to point out that there have been flashes of like 2 to 4, 3 to 5 game stretches where nearly every season Trevor Lawrence has like looked unstoppable. And he'll just have that inconsistency bug bite him a week later, and then you're just kind of back on that roller coaster trying to figure out where he lands. Well, this is another week where Trevor can kind of prove to like this is something different. Like 2025 is something different. Like against a reasonably strong Jets passing defense, he has a chance to show that they're building a system that he's comfortable in, that it's more than a flash in the pan. Like that he can be consistently good to maybe even great. You know what I mean? Like if he can find a way to land that, I think this is just another little notch or another little check box to say, all right, maybe this is something different. Because over the past 3 weeks, without Sauce Gardner, Jets are 7th in the NFL in passing yards surrendered. But like the Jaguars, they actually struggle with getting sacks. Like they're 22nd on the year.
Hmm.
They have 22 sacks on the year, which is 28th in the league. They got 0 interceptions. So that's why I was there earlier saying take the checkdowns. 0 interceptions on the season because they're playing all that man coverage and match coverage. Their backs to the wall, backs to the defenders, like the Jaguars were doing a lot last year. So you just have less chance to get your hands on the ball. So as long as Trevor, one, protects the ball, don't put it into harm's way, because you can't give a team that has 0 interceptions their first interceptions of the year. You're giving them life. Yeah. Right. You're giving them life at that point. Taking the check downs, you give yourself guys in space because you know there's playing a lot of man coverage, and you have Travis Etienne out there who can probably outrun, and Bayshaw too, who can outrun most of these guys if they can get the ball in space. This is why I say the way that the things that I say. Trevor Lawrence should have plenty of opportunity this week to kind of find and locate guys, maybe even those one-on-one shot plays to BC. So that's why I think that's probably one of my bigger keys to the game this week.
No, I love it. Listen, saying hit the check down as advice certainly isn't anything that's strange. But what I'll also add to it with taking the free yards, you can't shoot yourself in the foot once you get them. Keep the damn penalties down. Against the Jets, there's no excuse to have fewer than 5 penalties in this game. And if you don't, and I'm Coach Liam Coen, which I'm not, I'm too fat. But listen, no penalties. I know we normally make a player an X factor. Keep the penalties off the damn board. I don't know if I'm inspired by PT Phono. Shouts to Preston on Wednesday telling me I wasn't talking enough about penalties. Well, there you go, Humpy Bumpy. It's Friday. I'm talking penalties. Don't do them. That's my X factor.
Your X factor. That's funny because both of us have X factors that aren't individual players this week. This is the first time that's ever happened that either of us have had an X factor that wasn't an individual player, and we both have one this week. That's not mine. Special teams.
This is a Jaguars team that has to beat themselves to lose. And that's what we both see. They're a favored Jaguars team. They're a Jaguars team that's relevant in December. There's a lot of changes. We have to change our approach as good analysts, Travis. That's my concept.
No, that's fair. Liam Coleman mentioned it on Wednesday that, special teams is going to be the biggest thing for this Jets team. And not his words, my words. But essentially, when asking about what they do well, the first thing he mentions is special teams, because they have one of the best special team units in the NFL. 2 punt returns, return for a kickoff, return for a touchdown, and a kickoff return for a touchdown this year already. Like, that's a huge edge for them. Just like the Jaguars kind of have a good edge with Parker Washington, assuming he's able to get full go and get back to normal and play this week, then you'll have a good little competition there. But for the most part, a big X factor for them to win the game, that's going to be special teams. Jaguars got to be great in coverage.
Yeah, they're good enough to hold Parker Washington's beer. They're definitely a threat.
Wow. All right, man, let's get into it. So, looking at the tail of the tape, the matchup. Woo, that's a lot of teal. So the Jaguars run offense is 15th in the NFL versus the Jets 30th ranked run defense. Obviously, this should be a week for the Jaguars to try to establish that run game we talked about. The Jaguars run defense is first in the NFL versus the Jets run offense, which is 7th. Again, pretty solid run offense, but the Jaguars should be able to limit them if you believe in the stats. The Jets pass defense is actually 8th in the NFL, averaging giving up 190 yards in the air, while the Jaguars passing offense is 21st, which is picking up 202 yards in the air. So they're actually reasonably close, which gives the edge to the New York Jets in that area.
But by the way, still start Trevor in fantasy.
That's actually that's the biggest part of that take, is I hate the fact that it's true, but yeah, you probably should. But if he comes out here and gets 190 yards in the air, you don't blame me in the fantasy playoffs. I'm sorry.
There you go.
So the pass defense for the Jaguars is 22nd in the league, while the New York Jets passing offense is 32nd in the league by a wide margin, 146 yards passing per week. And that's been with Tyrod Taylor, that's with Justin Fields, or even Brady Cook. So nevertheless, they are struggling to get that passing game going in New York. Edge goes to the Jaguars. In turnovers, the Jaguars are 18th in turnovers on offense, which is 15 in the league for the year, whereas the New York Jets defense is 32nd in turnovers forced. Like they only have 2 and they're both fumbles recovered. They have no interceptions that we talked about earlier. That's the edge should be the Jaguars, just not throw interceptions. You'll be fine, realistically. And the Jaguars are second in the NFL in takeaways with 23, whereas the Jets are 11th with taking the ball away. So at the end of all of this, man, where does it land? The Jaguars are 9th in the league in points scored. Jets are 27th in the league in points given up, 26.8 points per week. Edge goes to the Jaguars, and points surrendered, 11th in the league for the Jaguars, where the Jets are 25th in the league with points scored. So again, both teams are around that 21 to 20 points in that area. Edge to the Jaguars. Jaguars win every statistical category other than the Jets passing defense versus the Jaguars passing offense, which is around 200 yards a game. This game has to go to the Jaguars, right? Am I crazy? Am I crazy here?
I don't think so. Yeah, a lot of people agree with you too, Travis.
And by a lot, he means all of the analysts over at NFL.com. Literally all of them. 10 out of 10 and one of the first unanimous votes this season say the Jacksonville Jaguars will defeat the New York Jets on Sunday. And I don't know how much I like these odds because, I mean, anytime we got 10 out of 10 on something, I'm like, I gotta check myself.
Here's what drives me nuts is the one time I expect a 50-point total outcome, Daniel Jeremiah keeps it below 50 with a 45 total points. What the hell are we doing here?
I mean, my biggest question is less about if the Jaguars are going to win, and more about how many points do you reasonably think the Jets are going to score? That's the more fun conversation because we got guys here that's saying the Jets are going to score 21 points somehow, and I'm like, yo, really? 3 touchdowns.
Let me paint the scenario. It's going to be garbage time, fourth quarter, and this Jags defense does give up those points. I think that's the scenario. The 24-21, for example, from Daniel Jeremiah, the game won't be that close, but I can see a world where that happens.
Okay, cool. So then I am going to land this bad. Yeah, I'm gonna land this bad boy at Jaguars 30. Sorry, I said 30, 33. My apology. Jaguars 33, Jets 17.
33-17 in favor of the Jags.
I'm still giving it the 50-point total though. I'm still hitting it.
You're sneaking it in there. There's a joke in there somewhere, but I'm gonna give the Jags defense a little bit of credit. I think they keep them below 3 touchdowns. I have the Jets landing 17. I like that as well. I'm gonna go with this is going to be a weird score. I'm going to go with the 33-17. I'm going to make this a 50-point game the hard way in that fashion. Or 50-point game, sorry. 33-17.
Wait a minute. Did you say 33-17?
I did.
That was my score.
Was
Same score.
I didn't even mean to do that. You know what? 36-17. How about that? No. Let me do this. Okay, I'll do it this way then. Joking is
I didn't realize that.
I'll do 34-17, get the 51, and make it 4 touchdowns with 3 field goals. In that case, right?
Hey, don't change it on my behalf. Maybe we both will be right. I don't know. We'll see.
Thoroughly possible. Yeah, I'll go. You know what? I'll do the double up. I'll go 34-17 Jags.
All right, cool. Well, we already talked about it on Wednesday, and we will continue talking about it until this vote is done. Hey, man, head over to NFL.com/Pro Bowl. Vote for these guys in, get these players in, like not just Logan Cook, not just Cam Little, not just Eric Armstead. Like again, as it currently stands, it's only Cam Little and Eric Armstead in the top 5 of the fan voting. Vote more than once. Have your people vote. Send it out. Like I mean,
right.
If you support the Jacksonville Jaguars, you want good things to happen to this fan base. You want this fan base to have the notoriety of the players and the fan base to have the notoriety that comes along with having these Pro Bowlers, and not to mention that once these guys get these Pro Bowls, it actually helps them in the Hall of Fame kind of conversation. I mean, we're looking at Fred Taylor and Tony Baselli and all those guys struggling to get into the Hall of Fame when they're obviously belonging. Like they belong there, but the reason is partially is yes, the media, but also fans. Y'all got to vote. We got a part in this equation also. So NFL.com/Pro Bowl. Vote if they're in teal. You got to vote for them. I don't care. I ain't talking about being fair. I'm talking about if they're in Duval, get them in there. Find a way. Get it done. And also make your way out to the stadium. Let's get this thing going. another victory, a 10th win for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had 4 wins last year. Be there. I'll see y'all. We'll be there. 10 a.m. Let's go.
The case. Yeah, no, he did what get your ass to the stadium, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say it. I'm like, yeah, man, if you can afford it, and if you ain't hurting like that, get your ass to the stadium.
There you
Let's
go. Yeah, listen, if they Duval, vote for them all, right? If they wear teal, make your appeal. All that other kind of thing right there. No, I'm with you, man. I think listen, as the non-fan, there's guys that should be getting more votes than there are, and I'll leave it at that. I don't know if they still even have a fullback spot, but if they did, if Tim Coen can make it all those years, Hines-Allen should be getting votes. I'm just saying. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. Travis D. Holmes, tell the world where you can be found, my friend.
You can find me on bigcatcountry.com. Check out the post-game write-ups and any updated injury reporting information or takeaways from the pressers this week. We also have the article from earlier this week discussing Walker Little versus Cole Van Lannon, and maybe has Cole Van Lannon done enough to earn that starting spot? Yeah, go and check out that article and give me your thoughts on that one. But yeah, Travis D. Holmes on all the socials. If you're listening to the sound of my voice, please click the like button on the stream, or rate and review us on the audio side, wherever you're getting our Duval Dive content. We appreciate you very much, and we just want to make sure you guys know we're only here because you guys keep giving us great content and things to talk about on all the socials and the YouTube comments, all the places. So yeah, Travis D. Holmes on the socials. Click that like button. Please comment. Continue sharing it with your people and let them know where you can be found, sir.
Listen, knowing ball and being entertaining is only half of it. You guys coming in and giving us ideas and things that you want to hear and talk about certainly keeps it running. My personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, has that right. Of course, I'm Kyle Nash. Let's do the game. You can find me on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out my writings with the black and gold banneret covering UCF football and basketball. Brandon Harris now coaching at FSU. That's a whole thing. That's a weird thing. Anyways, make sure you check out my work as well covering the Orlando Magic and my work right here following your Jacksonville Jaguars on the Duval Dive. Yeah, you said all the things. Thank you again for all the comments and support. We're creeping closer and closer to 1,000 subs, by the way, on YouTube. So listen, if you aren't yet, get a hold of your life, like and subscribe the Duval Dive YouTube channel. So for my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, and many thanks to all you Duval divers and Duval devout, this is Kyle Nash, the student of the game. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.